And we're on. This is the great classic movie debate. I'm Kenny.
I'm Paul.
And I'm Steve.
And we talk about movies, anything, everything pertaining to movies. We like to talk about some of our favorite movies. Tonight, we might talk about some unfavorite movies, but we try to keep it interesting and have fun. If you're watching, please like, comment, and subscribe. We will love you for that. And don't forget to check out our sister channel, The Great Classic Rock Debate. Last time out, we had some fun. We talked about movies that bring out a visceral response when watching, or especially the first time you saw it. A movie that you sat there and you hated it so much that you literally got angry the longer you sat there. Paul, you used as your illustration Wolf Creek. I used Juno. Steve did Magnolia. And we decided to just sort of carry on this topic tonight and throw out a few more names. Now, before we begin, and you guys tell me if this is fair or unfair or whatever, I want to just sort of, I guess let's have a presumption that we're not going to choose any really god-awful low-budget movies that everybody already knew. We have to, in other words, choose a movie that at least was expected to be good.
It was actually,
I read a book. I read a book years ago about a guy who wrote like the 10 or 20 or 25 or whatever it was, worst pop songs in history. And he said, listen, before you even begin, this is an intro portion, before you begin, any schlub can make a terrible song. That's not what this book is about. He chose songs by established artists that were either were hits or were
trying.
What's that?
They were trying to make a real song.
Correct. So these were movies in which we're going to use movies in which they were trying to make a legitimate big box office hit or whatever, and it was just awful. Okay, so and also I Googled just to get a couple of ideas. Ebert wrote a book called "I Really Hated This Movie," and it was like 50 or 100 movies, and he chose far too many obvious ones. Movies that everybody knew from its inception that it would be terrible. But then he had some odd choices, just as an example, Armageddon, like I thought it was a great action movie. It's not an intellectual movie, but it's, for what it was trying to be, I thought it was good, So anyway,
it's better than the contemporary of that, which was Deep Impact.
Oh, I know. I kind of like Deep Impact, but it was so morose.
When I saw, before Deep Impact came out, there was an article somewhere about it, and it said Deep Impact was going to be better than Armageddon because it was really focused on the characters. And I watched Deep Impact first, and I thought, these are awful characters. And then the best thing about Armageddon are the characters. And that's the most important part of any movie are the characters.
Right.
Bruce Willis.
And he hit it out of the park. He did, I never anticipated when I entered the theater that I'd get so emotionally sucked into that story. And man, I did, So anyway.
The Goo Goo Dolls,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'll start if that's good. Okay, so I have several in mind. I chose this as the first one because it's a sequel, and the original movie was so utterly fantastic that this movie just infuriated me sitting through it. And I couldn't wait to go because I knew it was going to be so good. And this is Highlander 2, The Quickening.
Oh.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. And just for the record, we watched Highlander again just recently, probably in the last couple of months, and it's still fantastic to this day. That is a great movie. Okay. And that movie had the unique property, I guess, of failing at the box office and then getting picked up in the video rental stores and becoming a supernatural phenomenon, right? So it was so good based upon its sales or rental numbers that was what drove them to make a sequel. And that first one was so good, I knew the sequel would be great. And man, I don't even have the adjectives to describe how awful this movie is. But I'm just going to add this little thought, and that is, sometimes it's better to just not try to explain things. All right. Just like the Star Wars with the midi-chlorians or whatever it's called. They came up with this ridiculous backstory as to why somebody is going to be a Jedi, because their blood is high in the levels of midi-chlorians or whatever. And I go, why did they have to just leave it a mystery, leave it unexplained? It's fine. So in Highlander, you've got these immortals in the first. You've got these guys who are immortals. We don't know where they come from. We're not told. They've been here perhaps since the beginning of time. We don't really know. All we know is they are systematically fighting each other and killing each other off. And then the final guy who's left is going to be, you know, the Grand Master of time, space, and dimension, or whatever. So it's a great story, but they just leave that part unexplained. And for some reason, I guess I'll never understand, in the sequel, they decide to give us the explanation. They're space aliens from another planet who then come to Earth to have their battle royale or whatever. And I go, this makes no sense. It's idiotic. And it was awful. It was painful sitting through it. My hopes were so high, and the longer it went on, I just got angry. I'm like, God, who green-lighted this? Who thought this was a good idea? Insulting your customers and kicking us all in the nuts, you know? So anyway, that's going to be my choice to lead us off tonight for a movie that I viscerally hated sitting and watching, and that was Highlander 2: The Quickening.
I think you and I might have seen that movie together, the second one, maybe.
I'm not certain. We might have. I saw it with somebody, but I don't recall who. It could have been you.
And I was like, in the movie, like, this is a movie I made Kenny watch Mulholland Drive, right?
Right. Yeah, we saw that together. You had already seen it, and then
so what I did when I'm watching Mulholland Drive, I just kind of cocked myself at 45 degrees and watched Kenny. Because part of my entertainment is watching Kenny trying to figure out what the hell's going on in this Mulholland Drive. I'm like, oh my God, this is awesome. And you had these little nonverbal cues. Your head would cock, your eyes, you kept moving around. I'm like, oh, this is awesome.
Yeah.
So, but David Lynch did that on purpose. Highlander 2 is the same thing, but it was like, I don't know if either one of you saw when South Park started ripping on the show Family Guy. And what they said was, this is the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. The South Park guy said, what this guy, Seth MacFarlane, who I don't think is funny at all.
I don't either.
He says how he comes up with ideas for Family Guy is he has these two giant manatees, and they're in a tank, and they have balls with ideas written on them, like Hitler, and then going to the car wash. And then so the manatee balls will grab Hitler and go, okay, they got Hitler. Okay, it's gonna be funny. And now we're gonna get a car wash. And then they show the show going, like the big fat guy going, hey, that reminds me of the time that Hitler went to a car wash. Like the jokes are just so, they have no relationship to the plot of the episode.
They don't, but they're still funny. But
I don't think they're funny. I think that show.
I did find that episode of South Park amusing.
Oh, that was brilliant. So this is what Highlander 2 did. It just said, okay, forget the fact that Christopher Lambert killed all the other Highlanders, including the Kurgan, and the Kurgan killed Ramirez, but now Ramirez is back in the movie,
right?
Somehow undead. And then now Michael Ironside, who's a great actor who I worship, is in here, and he's a bad guy. Where the hell was he with the first time you guys fought?
Right.
And why in the name of God is there a shield around the earth to block the sun from the sunlight from the sun? This is the stupid. I was like, how many stupid ideas can they just keep?
Right. It was so stupid. Yeah.
It was like, and my brain was like, oh no, I don't even want to try to figure it out.
Yeah. I don't. Quick side note: I don't know if either one of you guys saw that movie Blackberry. It's kind of like a little mini series or whatever that's been on TV recently. It's a little like a dramatization of the how the BlackBerry was first started. It's pretty cool. I thought it was good. Michael Ironside was in that. I go, oh my God, look at him. He's still around.
I didn't know he was still alive.
Yeah, he was in it. Not a huge part, but important.
I think there's the only movie I know. Correct me now. Don't count this one you just said. Is with the oh God, Starship Troopers. It's the only movie I know where he's a good guy.
Oh, right.
He's a bad guy.
He's always a bad guy.
He has to. I don't remember him in that movie, but you're right. He's a bad guy in every movie.
So this movie was. Did you see it, Steve? Highlander 2?
No, I've
We
heard
both
it's
know,
awful.
me and you both know someone who has, and I ripped this movie, and that other person agreed with me. It was god awful.
Well, I
Sorry.
can tell you the only one of those movies I've ever saw was, I think it was Highlander 4,
4.
or maybe it
Wow.
was 3. I don't know. I saw it in the theaters in 2000, maybe 2001.
All right.
And
Is that
it
with
was
Mario
my,
Van Peebles?
I don't remember. It was my first introduction to the Highlander series. And I'm like, what is this?
Yeah.
Like,
And I was told that it was not a good movie by
Yeah.
the person I was with.
I didn't see any past number 2, but
did I?
I'm sure they're all just terrible.
I've seen a
Like-
couple since then, but the first one kind of ruined it for me. So I saw them like at parties when I was in college, I think, and
All right.
half drunk or
You
whatever.
mean the first? You took the first Highlander.
When he says the first one ruined it, he means the first one he went to.
Yeah, the first, I saw Highlander 3 or 4 or whatever,
Okay.
whatever one came out in 2000 or 2001.
Because the original movie, in my humble opinion, is the greatest, and it's not even close, bad guy performance of all time.
Clancy Brown.
Clancy Brown. No one's even in the same
Yeah.
universe as him.
If I had seen that movie when I was a kid when it came out, I'm sure I would have loved it, because I love Queen and the
Yeah.
I mean, it just the plot. I would have loved it, but I didn't really see it until, like I said, I saw the third or fourth one, and that kind of just turned me off from it.
You
Yeah.
should go back and watch it. I'm serious, because Clancy Brown, when he comes up on this horse, he's got this skeleton. He's a big dude in real
Yeah.
life. He ain't a little guy. And you're like,
Yeah.
oh my! I was in the theater going, yeah, I'm scared.
He's
I was
terrifying. Yeah.
And you're like, wow. And then and he's just, and then near the end of the movie, Steve, he gives a speech. Like it's a chilling, haunting speech. He starts getting a dialogue with this preacher, a Catholic priest,
Right.
and he's talking about Jesus Christ, and he says, he really cares for these people, doesn't he? And the preacher's like, yes. So he goes, that will be his undoing. Like, he's
You're
not
talking
only going
about
to
Sean Connery.
No, the Kurgan wants to destroy Jesus. I mean, he wants to destroy everything.
Everything.
It's chilling, dude. I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Because he does the Def Leppard. It's better to fade out.
And fade away. Yeah.
Fade away.
Yeah.
And he starts starting raging inside this church. He's staring at everybody. It's awesome.
Yeah, it was a great performance. It really was.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. But anyway, the reason we've just sort of illustrated the reason why Highlander 2 was so awful, because Highlander 1 was so good. It was so good.
Yeah.
So anyway, moving on. Steve, what do you got for us?
Yeah, for me, this is the movie that made me take something that I really love and not care about it at all anymore.
I know where he's going. Go ahead. I want to hear it. Go.
And it is The Last Jedi.
Yes. Yes.
They ruined the character of Luke Skywalker. That was a movie that people my age, kids my age, growing up, they wanted to see Luke Skywalker in his prime. Granted, Mark Hamill is now in his 60s, maybe 70 years old at this point. Yeah. So,
Like 80s.
but that movie just completely just destroyed the myth of the Star Wars universe. And then they followed it up with The Rise of Skywalker and completely made everything that happened in
A quick question. The Last Jedi, that was the one from about, 5 years ago or something like that?
2017. It was the second of the Disney Star Wars movies.
Okay, is this the one where the girl was the Jedi?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. It's terrible. All right.
Yep. It made me, the whole thing with Princess Leia floating through space, looking like the Silver Surfer or something like that.
Right.
Mary Poppins
Oh
in
my
space.
God.
It was laughably bad.
Yeah.
And they just turned Luke into just this wimpy loser. And they, Disney really just, with all three of the movies, they just missed a chance to have all three of the main characters in one scene together. And they never even accomplished that.
Right.
They ruined the character of Han Solo in The Force Awakens. They turned him into a deadbeat dad. And then they just doubled down with The Last Jedi and just completely destroyed any shred of credibility they had since then. And what I kind of enjoy now is the fact that, looking back at the Disney trilogy, my favorite character was probably the Emperor. And at the end of the day, he ends up winning because he completely destroys all of the Skywalkers. So they just messed up so bad. It's not even it's unwatchable. I watched it once in the theater and I walked out of the theater and said,
Yeah.
What did I just see? What did they do?
Yeah.
But
It
they
was
didn't mess up,
Completely
Steve.
ruined it. And I
They
thought it
didn't
was
mess
just
up.
me. And then I
They
got
did it
on
on purpose. They did it on purpose.
Oh,
It was
of course
done.
they did it on purpose. Yeah. I know they did that. And that's why I will never buy anything related to Star Wars or watch any of their content as long as Disney maintains ownership.
Oh,
Because it wasn't just that, it's everything they've done since then.
Yeah.
That has just they have completely intentionally have tried to destroy the legacy characters. And that's fine. If that's what they want to do, they own it. I'm not going to watch it. So that's on that's on Disney. Good luck with that.
I saw it in the airport. I had waited. What was the second one called of the three?
The Last Jedi.
Yeah. I saw it in the airport. I went, at first, I literally thought this was a spoof movie. Someone tried to make it bad on purpose. I'm like, and Laura Dern is like this sexless creature, and her and this other woman lecture the Cuban guy. Hey, swashbuckling no space ain't gonna solve anything. You know that, you stupid male with testicles and a penis. Don't you know that? I'm like, hold it. That's the whole damn movie.
That's all of Han Solo. The thing is,
Right.
his character is completely meaningless. The other part of The Last Jedi is they have this whole side story, this mission with Rose and
Finn.
Finn. They go on this little side quest and they fail. And you watch like 30 minutes of something that they could have just cut out the entire portion of that. It had no impact on the plot whatsoever. They were supposed to go find this code breaker or something, and then they meet him, and then he's not a code breaker or something. It has nothing to do, and it doesn't further the story once at all. It's like it's basic storytelling 101 that you don't show things that are unnecessary or talk about things that are not essential to the plot. And it had absolutely no impact. It didn't build their characters whatsoever. It's one of the worst movies ever made. And there's really no excuse for it, given the amount of money that they've had.
Right.
Yeah, it's the movie that ruined the Star Wars franchise forever. And there's no going back to it. It's a shame. And the only thing that could happen is they would have to sell it to another company. And basically they would have to that company then would have to say everything that you saw from Disney is non-canon.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Well, listen, I'm going to take the baton and go with it from here. So let me tell you what I was sort of debating, and I'm going to tell you what I didn't choose before I tell you what I did choose for my next movie that I viscerally hate. I didn't choose both of the Matrix sequels 2 and 3. Okay. I really did not like either one of those movies. But when I stop and ask myself, did I viscerally hate them? No, I just didn't like them. And because they're 3 hours or whatever, the longer you sit, the worse it gets. But the movie I'm choosing that I really viscerally hated was 2000's Shaft with Samuel Jackson, Christian Bale, whatever. And so let me give you my rationale for why I went to see it in the first place. So the original Shaft, which was early 70s, was a very low budget movie, which I guess was very popular with Black audiences, but it wasn't like a huge moneymaker or anything. But it has developed sort of a legendary status. Richard Roundtree established himself as his character, or whatever. Okay, so when they decided to make an updated version or whatever, and put a bunch of, I mean, the cast, that's a really big budget cast. I don't know if you guys remember who all was in there, but it was Samuel Jackson, Vanessa Williams was in it, Christian Bale, that guy Jeffrey Wright was in there, Busta Rhymes, he's a rapper, that actor Dan Hedaya, who's been in a lot of good movies, Toni Collette was in that. So, and also, you know who else was in it? I had to look it up. That guy Pat Hingle, who was in a bunch of old Clint Eastwood movies. I think he's probably deceased by now. But anyway, my point is, you can't just brush this off as a low budget movie. They spent real money on this. Okay. So, and I was hoping it to be entertaining or whatever, but oh my God, it's like the worst writing I've ever seen in my life. The story is terrible. And the dialogue, it sounds like it's written by a teenager. The throwaway lines that I guess are supposed to be funny or whatever, they're unfunny. They're not cute. There's nothing about that movie good. And again, as the minutes were ticking by, I'm going, oh, please let this movie end soon. It's terrible. And so I have no idea what the ratings or reviews were. I have no, all I know is I saw it the weekend it opened, and it's easily one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life. And I hate that movie. I just hated every second of it.
I saw it
I've
on
never
an
seen it.
airplane, and it was terrible. And I kept looking up. I'm like, thank God I had my own movie on my whatever, and I didn't like give it any real thought because I saw a couple of lines, and the Christian Bale is like this white supremacist lawyer,
Right.
smart guy. I'm like, oh my God, okay,
The
yeah, it was
absolute
terrible.
worst. Horrible, horrible. Oh, and by the way, Paul, that movie was directed by, I think, John Singleton. Do I have that
Yeah,
right?
it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what's
Yeah.
surprising that it's that bad.
But the thing is, Paul and I talked about this a long time ago. I said, I think he's kind of a fluke. I give him credit for Boys in the Hood because it was original and it was well done and all that. When it's all said and done, I thought it was a pretty darn good movie. You know?
Yeah,
But I don't think he's a talented guy. I think he had that one good idea and maxed it out. But most of the other movies he directed were not particularly memorable. And Shaft was god awful.
yeah. I mean, I met Mr. Roundtree on a plane going to West Palm Beach. He was going to one of these conventions. No, I think I'm the only person on the plane who knew he was. So I started hugging him and we were talking, and really, really nice man. And I said, come on, you're a legend. And he was, I was trying to pump him up. It was so funny. And like, cause he was wearing a suit. Like he wasn't, I was like,
he died like in the past year, I think.
Yeah, I'm like, and this was like 15 years ago. And it was like, buddy, no. I was like, okay. So we talked as we went out of the plane. It was really nice to me. And
Cool.
it was a cool, but yeah, I didn't have the heart to say, hey, by the way, he's like, let me tell you something there, little white boy. My $1.4 million check cleared. That's all that matters.
That's all that matters. That's right. That's right. Okay, Paul, give us your next movie that you hate.
Okay. This movie that I wrote about it in my play that I had in LA off and on for a year is called Vanilla Sky.
We saw it together.
This is garbage put upon garbage upon crap. Okay. And like, if you're going through a dump and you pull out garbage, oh, maybe there's a gold. Oh, it's crap. And you get to the bottom of it. And the script, and evidently it was based on another movie called Abres los Ojos, which is Open Your Eyes in Spanish. And the funny part was Penelope Cruz was in both movies.
Okay.
Maybe she had something to do with it. The only thing that saved this movie for me not walking into Hollywood was Tom Cruise. That guy, you could give him a subpar script, and just because he's Tom Cruise, he just blows that thing out of the water. And I was like, and I started like, he gets in a crash, something's wrong with his face, but they're gonna put this mask on him, but now he's up on a cliff of a building. Is he really dead? Is this whole thing a dream? I'm like, someone needs to die, and they need to die fast. If I have to blow up Hollywood with an atomic bomb, I'm willing to do it to stop this from ever being made again. And it was like, so when I went to, anyway, I knew people in the business. I was, tangentially in the business. And I started ranting on this movie like I did Wolf Creek. And people were like, whoa. And I was like, this movie is garbage. Did he dream it or not dream it? Well, that's not the point of the movie.
It's you could call it either virtual reality or total recall, whatever. But I didn't hate it. I mean, obviously your feelings are strong. I didn't like it, but I didn't hate it. They just used a mechanism that's already been done, so it wasn't anything original.
So, Steve, did you see this movie?
No, I didn't. No, I because I've heard everything about it from you, or at least everything bad about it. And,
yeah, you don't need to see it. You should never watch it. And it's and people like, I don't know. It's just, but again, Tom Cruise, because what's her face is in it? The Cameron Diaz is in it.
Yeah,
and I forgot who else.
Here's Cruise. The thing, because it has this plot twist. up until the point that the plot twist is revealed, it's hard to make heads or tails out of what's going on. Like this guy keeps showing up in the room and you're going, wait, who is this guy? And then all of a sudden he's not there anymore. It's just kind of hard to make sense of it and to figure out. And when the plot twist is revealed, like, okay, I get it now. So,
Like,
but again, the plot twist is not original. It's been done before. So
when you brilliantly just brought up Total Recall, that movie with Schwarzenegger is just brilliant, brilliant, brilliant.
it is.
Like when the heavyset guy, he's always a bad guy or a pompous ass. He
Michael
walks
Ironside.
in, huh?
Michael Ironside.
Not him. He's the bad guy. Like, remember
Yeah,
they send that? No. But remember they send that guy into the room to try to convince Arnold that he's in a dream, and Arnold's staring right at him. And finally, after about a minute, he goes, "I want you to put this gun down. That way, when you wake up, I'm going to start, and you're going to wake up in that chair." And Arnold's staring. Now, all of a sudden, Arnold sees a drop of sweat come down his face, and then when he knows to kill him, he knows it's not a dream. That is just brilliant,
Right?
you know. And I was like, that movie's brilliant, and of course,
like it.
Philip K. Dick. So, all
Colin
right,
Farrell was great in it.
that was the second one, you smart ass. I never saw it.
I never did either. That was one of those movies that I thought, what's the point of remaking it? And it might be good. I don't know.
Wait, which movie?
Total Recall. They made a second one.
Oh,
About 10 years ago, Colin Farrell, who's a good actor. And
I love Colin Farrell, but
he's good.
I remember as a kid, Total Recall, Sharon Stone was in it. I just remember because I was probably about 13. I was like,
yeah.
And it's Rachel Takoden, the Hispanic chick in there. She's real hot too.
Yeah, she looks good. Yeah.
That's All right. So who wants to go next? On
Steve, you're up. You got one for us?
Yeah, it's Avatar.
Oh, great choice. Man, that's a grand slam home run right there. All right,
there's
go
not
ahead.
much I can say about this other than I respect James Cameron as a filmmaker. Probably that's about all that I would say that's good about him. Not that I know him personally, but just reading some of his comments. It is, you are not supposed to root for the bad guys in a movie. And halfway through that movie, I'm sitting here cheering them and rooting for the Marines.
Yep.
Whoever those guys are, to kill all the native people.
Yeah.
They just annoyed me so much. It was just so preachy. I just remember when that tree crashed, their big tree, halfway through the movie, I was like, oh, the movie's done. Finally, I can go home. And no, there was another 2 hours left.
Yeah.
It was the most painful movie I've ever watched. And the thing is, I saw the sequel again because I was, last Christmas, it was the thing to do. And I'm like, okay, I'm paying for the A-list. And it wasn't as bad. But I remember my wife looked at me and goes, yeah, this movie's terrible. I'm like, yeah, don't you remember the first one? She's like, not really. I'm like, yeah, I don't know anybody who's seen either one of those movies who said, yeah, that's a great movie. I don't know what it is. Like, people think is it like a theme park and it's the holidays and people have to go see it? Like,
I don't know for sure. I think
CGI is bad.
Yeah, I think to the younger generation who was unaware that they copped that storyline from like 25 other movies.
Dances with Wolves.
Exact same thing. Pocahontas.
Yeah.
I think to the younger generation who's unaware, you combine that with the vivid visuals of it's cool to look at, but I hated every second of it. I'm disappointed that I didn't think of Avatar. I hated every second of that. Listen, ask yourself a couple of questions. The mountains float, right? The mountains float in the air. But if you stand on a floating mountain and drop the rock off, the rock falls. Like, why is that? Why is that?
Don't you know physics, Kenny? Damn
right. And you always got to love these perfect one with nature civilizations where No one has to go to the bathroom. There's no sewage. There's no, there's no outhouses. We just leave that part out because they're one with nature. So you don't have to worry about that kind of stuff. I hate those kind of movies. It's liberal crap being shoved down my throat. And I guess I'm supposed to feel guilt or something by it. But I'm with you, Steve. I was rooting for the Marines.
Yeah. And I read there was an excerpt from the script somewhere online, and it said about the Marines, it said something like Cameron wrote like, and your typical racist NRA type, that was describing the Marines. And I just thought, what a piece of trash this guy is.
Yep.
I like the movie, but I know because I saw that. I think I read the script 2 years before the movie came out. So I read it when I was at UCLA. So I knew what was happening. So I didn't get, I know if I hadn't read the script, I would have been sucked into the obvious over the top messages. And it's funny, think about the irony of James Cameron making a movie anti-technology. He used the greatest technology on earth to make the movie and to make Titanic.
Right.
So do you want us to be for technology or against? Which one is it exactly?
Well, all you need to know about how he is not that bright of a guy is what's the metal or what are they mining for?
Unobtainium.
That is what
did a 3-year-old think of that? Oh my God.
Unobtainium.
Yeah.
This movie, it didn't take me out into the fact that he's preaching, which he is, but it didn't do that to me. But it's entertainment, and this one didn't. Like, believe me, how many movies did they make about the anti-Iraq war? Like 25 movies, and they all lost $1 billion. Like Disney's making all these grooming movies, but I was entertained. That's all I can say.
Okay. I was not.
I wasn't.
Okay, fair enough.
I wasn't. Okay, guys, we got the warning several minutes ago, so we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. Does anybody want to make any honorary Oscar presentations tonight?
Steve?
Well, Colin Farrell for Total Recall.
Oh, okay.
You're an ass.
You're. Well, what I'll do is, Paul, because I had forgotten, but you mentioned Rachel Ticotin, whatever her name is, in Total Recall. Yeah, I thought she was awesome, so I'll give her an honorary Oscar for that performance.
I'm going to give Tom Cruise an honorary Oscar for Tropic Thunder, which I'm going to do that every show until the end of time.
Hey, he'll always be deserving, so that's good.
Yes.
I'll give one to Kate, since I was talking about Kate Beckinsale in Total Recall, the remake, for Underworld. So.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Good. Very legit.
Not a good movie. I laughed.
I like that movie.
I liked it.
Call me, Kate. Call me.
But
I
the guy that plays the heavy in that, he reminds me of somebody who went to film school with. but I won't say his name on here. But it's just so over the top acting. But Kate Beckinsale was.
It's Romeo and Juliet, dude. Come on, that's what it is.
Okay, that's going to be it for this week. This is the Great Classic Movie Debate. I'm Kenny.
I'm Paul.
I'm Steve.
If you're watching right now, please like, comment, and subscribe. We will love you for that. Don't forget to check out our sister channel, the Great Classic Rock Debate. We're out of here. Until we meet again, we'll see you next time.